We are recording, and here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Covenant Calendar Club. We're so glad that you're here, and we pray that you will be richly blessed by the truth out of the scriptures from the mouth of our teachers concerning the calendar. For those of you that would like to participate in our conversations and questions, answers that we have after the teaching, visit studythecalendar.com, and you can sign up right there. So with all that said, we would like to take just a minute and give you a big shout out and a warm welcome and say,
Shalom.
Hello. And with that being said, we're going to go ahead and mute our mics and turn the computer over to our teacher for this evening, Tim and Jeanette Ashelford. Take it away, brother.
Hello, everyone. I'm sure happy to see everyone here. We got some new faces. We got some new people that are new to all this. What you're going to see tonight is a culmination of a lot of study, years of studies. There's so much background on this little short PowerPoint that it's absolutely phenomenal. I have a book that Sudi got for me that just explained everything from a secular point of view, everything that we have studied for the last, 10 years, Charlene. It's all supported from secular history, which is just, it's phenomenal to have everything supported. It's great. I'm really excited about this little short study. To me, it blew me away when I saw it, and I hope you guys enjoy it. I really do. I have a question for you, though. Can everybody hear me okay? I have a question for you, and this is a question that I'd like to discuss after the PowerPoint. Did Yahusha ever observe the Feast of the Yahudim? Think about that for a while, and we'll discuss this after the PowerPoint. I think there's going to be some interesting answers. I'm going to bring up the PowerPoint now, and I really hope that you guys enjoy this. I know I enjoyed making it, and I sure appreciate the amount of work that Charlene has done for editing. Oops, for editing. I appreciate it. I appreciate working with her. It's great. Okay, here we go. Yahusha, lost and found. Was Yahusha really lost? Something to think about. Yahusha, at the age of 12, revealed responsibility and statement. And what a statement it was. Yahusha, at the age of 12 years, positively fulfilled prophecy. Come in my name. There's that Yah in Yahusha. Yahusha, at the age of responsibility, wasted no time in exposing his mission on this earth. When Yahusha, being next to death, declared, "It has been accomplished," what was it that was accomplished? I can of mine own self do nothing. As I hear, I judge, and my judgment is just, because I seek not mine own will, but the will of the Father which hath sent me. That which was accomplished is the will of the Father. That's what he was speaking about. Does the will of Yahuwah include calendar? Creation, flood, quail, Exodus, Sinai, manna, the Passion Week. Is there one of these topics that does not have calendar in it? They all have calendar in a big, big way. Serious stuff. When Yahusha said that he accomplished the will of his Father, does that include the calendar? At 12 years of age, a divinely controlled event caused Yahusha to be speaking with the clergy in the tabernacle on the third day, which followed the Feast of the Yahudim. Luke 2 is written with very intentional descriptions for this tender moment of startling importance. Take note of Luke's specific documentation for the required standards around these events pertaining to Yahusha. And please note that little sunburst. When you see that, you will note that that is a standard of Yahusha from the Torah. Luke 2:21. And when 8 days were completed for him to be circumcised, his name was called Yahusha, the name given by the messenger before he was conceived in the womb. You'll find that circumcised statute in Leviticus 12:3. Luke 2:22. And when the days of her cleansing, according to the Torah of Moshe, were completed, they brought him to Jerusalem to present him to Yahuwah. Luke 2:23. As it has been written in the Torah of Yahuwah, every male who opens the womb shall be called set apart to Yahuwah. And Luke 2:24. And to give an offering according to what is said in the Torah of Yahuwah, a pair of turtle doves or 2 young pigeons. Luke 2:27. And he came in the spirit into the set apart place. And as the parents brought in the child, Yahusha, to do for him according to the usual practice of the Torah, note that practice of the Torah. Luke is very, very, very clear where these standards are to come from. Luke 2:39. And when they had accomplished all matters according to the Torah of Yahuwah, they returned to Galilee to their city, Nazareth, another standard from the Torah. Note, up to this point, Luke clearly delineates the modus operandi of event requirements as they pertain to Yahusha. Everything recorded to this point had a Torah requirement and fulfillment. Let us keep our eyes wide open and our minds even more open and ready for discernment. Here we go. Luke 2:41. And his parents went to Jerusalem every year at the festival of the Passover. The festival. Whose festival was this? Why did Luke not directly connect Yahuwah's name to this festival, as with other specified entities? Why did Luke not, as his custom was, inform us of pertinent Torah requirements and fulfillments? Luke 2:42. And when he was 12 years old, they went up to Jerusalem according to the practice of the festival. There's that age of accountability. Very, very important. Ultra important. According to Luke's record of documentation, is it not strange that Luke did not say, according to the Torah, when citing this festival? What was it? It was the festival of the Pesach, and according to the practice of the festival. Interesting words. How many times have we read these words and not paid attention? Just breezed over them and says, okay, yeah, it's another feast. How often are we going to breeze over things and not pay attention to the words? Whose festivals were they? Do these terms seem a bit unusual in terms of Luke's former readings? Let's do a comparison. Here's Yahuwah's standards, according to the Torah, as it has been written in the Torah, according to what is said in the Torah, the usual practice of the Torah. So what difference activated Luke to alter his documentation to a dissimilar informative format? The festival of the Pesach, according to the practice of the festival. Does it seem a little bit generic to you? Just a question. Think about it. As Luke did not designate this specific festival as that of Yahuwah, then whose festival was it? Considering that Miriam had a good idea of just who her son was and is, carefully consider this next revelation from the scriptures and ask yourself how, and equally as important, maybe even a little bit more important, why? Number one, what extremely unusual event occurred at this festival concerning the welfare of Yahusha? Why did Luke not specify this time frame as the days of Yahuwah? Luke 2:43. When they had accomplished the days, as they returned, the child Yahusha stayed behind in Jerusalem. That term, the days, again, I ask you, is that a little bit generic? So far, it's not too unusual, but Luke 2:43 continues. His parents did not know it. Luke 2:43. Now, you remember how Mary got, or how she conceived. It was a very, very, very special conception. She knew there was something ultra extraordinary about Yahusha. She is a mother. That was her child. Is it normal to leave a child behind? Well, look at this. Was it pure chance that Miriam and Joseph, on the start of their long journey home, just happened to forget and leave Yahusha behind? Was Hasatan hoping that Yahusha was lost forever? Is it possible that Yahuwah purposely caused or blocked the knowledge of Yahusha being left behind to not enter the minds of his earthly parents? Is it possible that being left behind and found 3 days later in the tabernacle might fill some divine statutes? What if there were 2 different calendars in this time that were in operation at the same time? Now, I know there's some people new to this information here tonight, and I really hope that you are able to look at this and understand that there's a lot more to be spoken on this topic, a lot more information. So I hope you will stick with us on this. What if the covenant count found from Genesis 1 to Exodus 24:11 and a lunar-based, fully adjustable calendar were operating at the same time? Would anyone be interested in a comparison of both these calendars for answers? Important comparison info, number 1. How do we know that it was the crescent moon that determined times back then and not another phase of the moon? In all research thus far, and especially that of Julian Morgenstern, it is repeatedly recorded that the crescent moon was the specific identity for the cause of determining time. Number 2, how are we able to determine the lunar-based year all the way back to the Common Era 12? The lunar metonic cycle has a 19-year cyclical pattern. It is here that the phases of the moon can be recorded. See the next slide. Here we are. There is your conjunction, and it records the conjunction was on the 11th of the month. So you see that in the top right hand? The 11th is the conjunction. The 13th is the crescent moon, and that is new month day, or as we get it, new month day. Note, on the 22nd. That is the Tekufa, and it is at 13.53 hours. If anyone wants more information about the 600 years before Yahusha arrived on this earth, you will find the book Hebrew Union College Annual from 1935, Chapter 1, The Calendars of Ancient Israel, more interesting than can be described. Okay, with that information, we will proceed with the comparison of the calendars. Common Era, Yahusha in the tabernacle, 3 days late. The lunar calendar, or the lunar year, in the Common Era of number 12. There's the cycles of the week on the left-hand side and the cycles of the month on the right-hand side of the box. You'll see the first cycle of the week is New Moon Day. And for those that need a little bit of centering on the Gregorian date, I put the Gregorian in there just so we have an idea. That was, you'll notice in the red box, the New Moon's Day was pre-Tekufa. This occurred before the Tekufa. I want you to note that because it's very important. The lunar year, according to the crescent moon, had started here. Again, notice the first cycle of the first month was well before the Tekufa. Please note carefully that Julian Morgenstern's documentation records multiple times that the first of the first lunar month started before the Tekufa in this time frame. So when is the Tekufa in the Common Era of year 12? Let's have a look. Covenant calendar. The Tekufa occurred on the third cycle of the week. We'll note that very, very carefully. When you go over to the left-hand side, this is your lunar calendar, and it was on the 10th day of the lunar month, or the 10th day of the year, for that matter. But note, the third day of the week stays the same. The weekly cycles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, operate totally independently from the year. The Tekufa event occurred 10 cycles after the lunar year had begun. Note the third cycle of the week. And for the new ones here, I would like to state that the scripture is very, very, very clear that the Tekufa event is what dictates and determines the start of the year. And to see that documentation, we have lots of information on that. It's available to anyone who requests it. So if you're wondering how come I have Tekufa on the right-hand side in the pink box, that is the start of the year. And the word Tekufa is translated into English as equinox. So after the third day of the week, we see the fourth cycle of the week, and that is New Year's Day in covenant calendar. That is the blood-ratified calendar from the Torah. By the fourth cycle of the week, the cycle after the Tekufa event, 10 cycles had elapsed within the lunar calendar. This created a 10-cycle difference between the calendar of Yahusha, which is my time, you'll see that in John 7:6, and the lunar counterfeit calendar. Here we are with the covenant calendar again. On the right-hand side, New Year's Day. It is from this point, New Year Day, that the covenant count begins counting 14 cycles towards Passover. And I will submit to you, this is the calendar that Yahusha was keeping. And I hope you question that. So let's have a look at it. We'll continue. And on the left-hand side, in the pink box, That is the number of lunar days that occurred before the Tekufa. This is the difference in the calendar. So there you see, on the 14th is the lunar Passover. That is a big 14 on the lunar calendar. The lunar calendar had already achieved 14 cycles in the first month. Their lunar Passover was here. Okay, first, have you noticed that the lunar Passover was on a seventh-day Sabbath? Remember that Passover by covenant count with Joshua entering Canaan was also on a seventh-day Sabbath. Just an interesting note. Those phrases that we were looking at earlier, at the festival of the Pesach, and according to the practice of the festival, you'll see those in Luke 2, 42, and 43. And the yellow highlights are the lunar Feast of Unleavened Bread dates. Those are the yellow highlighted numbers. And it came to be that after 3 days that they found him in the Mikdash, or that's the tabernacle, sitting in the midst of the teachers, both listening to them and asking questions. How come I have that box on the left says on the third cycle? You're going to see a lot more of this, of the third cycle. I'm stressing this and emphasizing it for a very, very specific reason. Again, on the third cycle. It was the third cycle of the week, and Yahusha was found in the tabernacle by his distraught earthly parents. And having seen him, they were amazed. And his mother said to him, Ben, why have you done this to us? See, your father and I have been anxiously seeking you. To which Yahusha answered, and he said to them, why were you seeking me? Was Yahusha insinuating that they should have very well known of his whereabouts? Not because he was lost, but because, wist ye not that I must go about my father's business? You'll note that from the Bishop's 1538 Bible. That's why the spelling is a little bit different. I kind of like that Bible. What does the NASB say? Same verse, translated. Don't you know that I had to be in my father's house? Interesting. It was the third cycle in that highly specific week. What is the very sad documentation in the next verse? Luke 2:50. But they, Yahusha's parents, did not understand the word which he spoke to them. Yahusha's earthly parents did not understand the Melchizedek administration. They did not understand the counterfeit deception of the lunar calendar that had quietly usurped their allegiance to Yahuwah and had misplaced and diverted their worship to an evil god, Ha-Satan. Same verse again. I must go about my father's business. They did not understand that Yahusha, the Word, was preparing to be the next Melchizedek Kohen HaGadol and must execute Exodus 23:14-17 perfectly. Why must Yahusha observe Exodus 23:14-17 exactly, including proper calendar timing? Very briefly, because Exodus 23:14-17 is within the everlasting covenant which was agreed to 3 times by the Hebrew nation before it was blood ratified, then sealed with a meal. You'll find that in Exodus 24:1-11, and that would be for eternity. I'll say that again, for eternity. Yahusha must observe the feast of Yahuwah, or feasts, I should say, with absolute impeccable timing and nothing short of it. Yet the earthly parents of Yahusha had been deceived and misled through the insidious assault of lunar teachings from generations past. Now, I want to bring up this book that Sudi brought to me about the one that Morgenstern wrote. The 600 years before Yahusha arrived on this earth, the calendar was all over the board. It is documented the amount of changes that was in those calendars leading up to Yahusha coming to this earth. It is absolutely astounding. I had no idea there were so many changes. So yes, they had been deceived and misled through these various lunar teachings. The words of Yahusha, "Do you not know?" reveals a stunning fact that they, Joseph and Mary, did not know about the timing of the covenant calendar of Yahuwah. They did not know the Kodesh timing of the feasts. They did not start their new year according to the Tekufa. The lunar system they followed, according to the practice of the festival, Luke 2:42, had them on an entirely different schedule. What did Yahuwah say about the lunar system of determining time? When you come to appear before me, who has required this from your hand to trample my courtyards? That would be to desecrate and profane. Stop bringing futile offerings and incense. It is an abomination to me. Is there any more of a condemning word from Yahuwah than abomination? Let's look at those abominations. New moons, Sabbaths, the calling of meetings. Could those be the feasts? I am unable to bear unrighteousness and assembly. My being hates your new moons and your appointed times. They are a trouble to me, and I am weary of bearing them. And when you spread out your hands, I hide my eyes from you. That is a terrifying statement. Even though you make many prayers, I do not hear. Another one. Your hands have become filled with blood. Wash yourselves, make yourselves clean, put away the evil of your doings from before my eyes. And the next few words, stop doing evil. Does it get any more clear than that? Do you think Yahusha received that memo from Isaiah? What is with that number 3? It is time to compare covenant calendar to the lunar calendar. Exactly what was Luke trying to tell us when he documented the 3 days late? Was it just 3 days, as it sounds? Or did Luke covertly identify the third cycle of a special covenant calendar week, and upon which was the see for yourself and you decide? Here's a refresher slide. On the left is the covenant calendar, or on the left is the lunar calendar, sorry. And that is the lunar week of unleavened bread. You'll see the 15th to 21 highlighted. There again is that third cycle. 3 days late, or so they say, on the third cycle. And he said to them, why were you seeking me? Wist ye not that I must go about my Father's business? Does that number 3 look like it needs to burst, revealing important information about who Yahusha is? At this point, the question can be asked, just who is this Yahusha, and what should be his course of actions according to his statements? Let's read. I can of mine own self do nothing. As I hear, I judge, and my judgment is just, because I seek not mine own will, but the will of my Father which hath sent me. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. Matthew 5:17. Can we expect Yahusha to observe the covenant calendar of Yahuwah in spite of all other instruction? Is it possible that Yahusha, at the age of responsibility, 12 years old, made a bold statement concerning him following the will of his Father? Consider his words of intentions. John 4:34. Yahusha said to them, my food is to do the desire of him who sent me and to accomplish his work. John 6:38. Because I have come down out of the heaven, not to do my own desire, but the desire of him who sent me. This and other verses make it quite clear that Yahusha's full intention was to do the will of his Father, Yahuwah. Question: is covenant calendar within this intention? We shall see. We're going to restart the covenant calendar so there's no mistake in the counting. There it is, the Tekufa, and then on the 4th cycle is New Year Day. But look on the left-hand side, that is the 10th day of the year in the lunar calendar. Interesting, 10 days difference. Here's a refresher slide again, just so we remember when the Feast of Unleavened Bread was in the lunar calendar. That is the traditional Feast of the Yahudim. The Passover and Unleavened Bread Festival was finished on the 21st of the first lunar month. Yahusha was discovered in the temple after 3 cycles on the 3rd cycle. Again, wist ye not that I must go about my Father's business. Again, there is the final cycle of the lunar unleavened bread festival. There is your 3 cycles later. I'm not going to say late. I say later. That 3rd cycle, what was it in the covenant calendar? That 3rd cycle was Abib 14, none other than the Passover of Yahuwah. Remarkable. Abib 14, Passover. Where was Yahusha found? In the temple. Is there a scriptural reason why Yahusha should be in the tabernacle on this particular 3rd cycle of the week? Deuteronomy 16:16. 3 times a year, all your males, not just a few of them, all your males appear before Yahuwah, your Elohim. Where? In the place which he chooses, at the festival of unleavened bread, at the festival of weeks, and at the festival of booths. And none should appear before Yahuwah empty-handed. Again, there's your 3rd day after the Feast of the Yahudim. That is Abib 14, that is Passover. Hallelujah. Where was Yahusha? Yahusha was presenting himself in the tabernacle on the Passover. Exodus 23:17. Did you not know? Have you not heard? Luke 2:50. But they, Yahusha's parents, did not understand the word which he spoke to them. Even Yahusha's earthly parents did not understand about the Tekufa. Yahusha's earthly parents were following the lunar-based calendar, which had insidiously displaced the covenant calendar hundreds of years earlier. And yes, that is documented very, very well for anybody who wants to look at it. People have asked me many, many times, why is there no sign of Yahusha correcting the calendar in the Messianic Testament? I say, there is calendar correction. If only we would read and study the word as it is written. Covenant calendar. There's the Tekufa. Have you not heard? My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me. Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy Elohim, I will also forget thy children. I'm going to read that again because we need to read this carefully. We need to have this implanted. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. So what is our duty? Our duty is to share the light and bring the light to as many people as possible. To who? The people that have rejected knowledge or that have been deceived. What is Yahuwah what does he say? If we reject truth, he is going to reject us. And we will not be priests. We will not be in the Melchizedek priesthood. We will be exempt. Why? If we have rejected truth, then we will have forgotten the law. We will have set it aside. What sadness for our children. Have you heard? Have you heard? Remember the moon of Moshe. Has anybody heard this? No, that's not correct. Not at all. Have you not heard? Remember the Torah of Moshe, my servant, which I commanded in him in Horeb for all Israel, laws and right rulings. Have you not heard? Did you not know, or do you not know? I shall raise up for them a prophet like you out of the midst of their brothers, and I shall put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak to them all that I command them. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words, which he shall speak in my name, I will require it of him. Serious stuff. Very, very, very serious. Have you not heard? Do you not know that I must be about the matters of my Father? Yahusha spoke these words of the Father. Yahusha set the example of abiding by the covenant calendar. Have you not heard about the Tekufa or the equinox? And you shall rejoice before Yahuwah your Elohim, you and your son and your daughter, and your male servant and your female servant, and the Levite who is within your gates, and the stranger and the fatherless, and the widow who are in your midst. Where? At the place where Yahuwah your Elohim chooses to make his name dwell. This is just one of the statutes that Yahusha was obeying and fulfilling when he was observing, presenting himself on the Passover of the covenant calendar. When? 3 cycles after the feast of the Yahudim, or the Jews. Once again, we see the final cycle of the lunar unleavened bread festival on the 21st. There is your 3 days. Again, on the right is your Torah covenant calendar, and it is the Passover. Yahusha had the experience of observing the feasts of Yahuwah on a different calendar than the Jews in his earlier years. Later, in John 7:19, with this experience in mind, is it any wonder that Yahusha, upon the calendar topic, declared, "Yet not one of you does the Torah"? Let me emphasize that one more time. Yet not one of you does the Torah. Who is he speaking to? Was it the Pharisees? Where has our lunar, not ours, I should disclaim that, where has the lunar calendar come from today that everybody goes after? Is it not documented from the exact same people that Yahusha said, "Yet not one of you does the Torah"? On the left is the moon, the crescent moon, and there's the question mark. There is your 3 days. Yahuwah's word, the Ruach HaKodesh. And I ask you, from whom do you glean your instruction? The rabbis or the scriptures? Questions? Please send your comments or questions. Send them all to Charlene. She's really good at answering. No, you can send them to me too. But let it be known that I sure appreciate the working with Charlene. I am fully blessed to be in contact and work with her. Okay, let's go for a stop share.
Good job. Questions, anyone? We got some questions? Some comments? Observations?
I always have a comment. I'm sorry.
That's great.
I was sitting here shaking my head the whole time, in tears, everything. It's so sad. It's so sad to know that his own parents didn't know. Now, I wondered so many times why it would say the Jews Passover or the Jews this, the festival of the Jews. It always says that. And I was reading something the other day, I can't remember where I was, and it talked about the law of Moses said, it was in Luke, right where we were. The law of Moses said to do this, and then the law of Yahuwah said to do this. It was like one scripture here and the next one there, a total difference. One was a law of Moses and one was a law of Yahuwah. And I was like, why did it separate those two? So this was wonderful. And it answered to me what I already knew about this reference to the Jews' festivals. They weren't his at that time. So just amazing. And just, like I said, all I could do was shake my head the whole time. Thank you.
Praise Yah. Praise Yah. I think Brenda had her hand up next, and then Tori, and then Walter, and then...
Good evening. Thank you.
Good evening, Brenda.
Thank you very much. Tim, I have a question. I think I saw on your slide when you were doing the calendar and you were figuring out the time and the relationship to Passover. Were you saying 12 year as in 12 CE? Because what came to mind is I've seen some estimates that Joshua may have been born like in 3 CE or 4 BCE or so. And I know with the calendars and everything that even with if it had been a different year, it could be, the same times as well. But was that what you were saying? 12 CE?
Absolutely, that's what I'm saying, 12 CE. You're seeing kind of the first of the information coming out that's going to prove that to you. We have a lot of information that is going to be coming out in the future that positively, specifically, and absolutely identifies the 12th year or 12th year of the Common Era as his 12th year of age. There's a lot more coming. I can't bring it out right now, but it's coming. That's all I can say. And it's interesting stuff. There's so many things that point towards this year and the future years coming that are, it's unmistakable that it's positively identified. Put it that way.
Well, I can't wait to see it. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I enjoyed making this. I loved making this. When I first saw that those 3 days later after the Feast of Yahudim, when I first saw that, I had chills run down my spine. I just, whoa, boy, it's incredible.
Yeah. Tori has her hand up, and I have a question after Manny. So, Tori, go ahead.
Could we refer back to slide number 22 and get the name of that book that was on that slide?
I'll type it into the chat if you give me a few minutes here.
Okay.
It'll be a hard book to find, and I must thank Sue for finding it for me. I tell you, I am so thankful, big time.
Thank you.
Okay, so the name of that book is going to be in the chat. That brings up something too. If you want to save chats after they're done, if you click on the button that says More, it'll give you an opportunity to save the chat. So